Hey to you two friends and members. Reverend Tara here. Good to be in virtual space with you. I am on the other side of UU General Assembly and wanted to touch base and give you a little bit of an update about how it went, what happened, what the heck it was. Um, yeah, because it's what happened is relevant to all of us, to all our congregations, to all of us as UUs. So I am just back as of yesterday from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is where GA General Assembly took place this year. GA is the annual gathering and business meeting of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. It's where the voting happens for this coming year of business. It's where worship services happen and talks and workshops and all the things. And this year, it was really interesting. So the theme for this year's GA was Faithfully Becoming. And I really noticed a strong thread thematically in the talks and the worship services and the kinds of things people were talking about in small groups. That theme was courage in the face of change and radical transformation in our association, in UU churches, and in the wider world. So there was a lot of reflection about what it means to be a people who are open and willing to change, even when it's hard and scary and we don't know what's on the other side. It was amazing to be with hundreds, thousands, I think, of people who were exploring those ideas and in that place, in a posture of openness. What an amazing experience. So the first part of the week, I was there for a week. The first couple days were UUMA ministry days. UUMA is the UU Ministers Association, so it's my professional association, and I was there with about 500 other Unitarian Universalist ministers. We had our business meetings ahead of time, so it really was a time to connect with each other, to worship together, to do workshops and learn together, hear some talks. And that was an incredible experience for me to be able to see myself in the larger collegial community and fill my spiritual cup through worship and community, and see old friends from past congregations. One of the things I'm taking away mentally, spiritually, in my body, even, is this really helpful and important reminder that we are part of a movement of a Unitarian Universalism that is much larger than A2U2, much larger than our individual congregation. And the thing that kept coming up in conversations with colleagues is that our challenges and issues and things we're working on and working through are exactly the kind of challenges that other congregations are facing as well. It was an overwhelming reminder, in a good way, that we are not alone in trying to find our way in this post but still in COVID world. It's a hard task that we're undertaking together, but it's a good task and we're doing a good job. So, in terms of the business stuff, don't get bored already and sign off here. This is actually really important and really interesting. So, there were a couple major items of business that delegates were voting on. And I just want to give a shout out here to our delegates. I was one of them. Nanine Chase Ortiz was another one of our congregation's delegates. Thank you, Nanine. So grateful for you and your willingness to represent our congregation at GA online. And also big thank you and shout out to Reverend Mike, our Minister Emerita, who voted in the elections using her Minister Emerita delegate credentials. So that was fantastic to have three of us. So the first major item that we were workshopping, talking about, doing pros and cons, and eventually voting on was Article 2, of our bylaws, which, as we've talked about throughout this year, is the part of our bylaws that house the 7 principles and 6 sources. So as we've talked about a number of times throughout this second half of this year, we're about 15 years behind on updating this part of our bylaws. So we should have done this 15 years ago. It's past due. And the UUA charged the Article 2 Study Commission to come up with a new draft, and we explored that new draft together in worship this spring. One of the things that had happened between when that draft came out and when we voted this past week on that draft is that people from congregations across the country and across the world, in some cases, congregations from the Philippines and India, they were workshopping with each other. There was a process which I sent out information about quite a few times to come up with amendments. So to say, okay, this sounds pretty good, but I think if we added this or tweaked this wording or, added this thing back that we feel like was taken out, we voted on those amendments that were proposed using the formal process. And that was a really fascinating and rich experience. We heard from the people who authored the amendments. We heard from people who didn't like them and who did like them. And there was a whole lot of hours of conversation about the amendments and how we might make this draft of our new Article 2 bylaws something that would be palatable and exciting to everybody, knowing that we all want to have a say. And so people did have a say in contributing to the amendments. And that process, again, was fascinating. So how it works is each day we got through a certain number of the amendments. And then at the end of the day, we voted on those. And they were all incorporated. The ones that passed were incorporated into a final draft of Article 2. And then we voted on that. So the exciting news, for me at least, I voted on in favor of this new draft of Article 2. 86% of Unitarian Universalists who voted for the draft of Article 2. And 14% of Unitarian Universalists who voted no, which means that Article 2, this draft of Article 2, is not set in stone forever, but it did pass for another year of study and reflection and amendments. And so next year at GA, after we have worked on it and used it and sat with it for another year, that is when we'll actually vote to decide, is this something we can live with, for the next 15 years? So I think it's really exciting. The conversation was fruitful and rich. And I'll just remind us, I have a little cheat sheet in front of me. I'll read sort of like the short version of Article 2. And it replaces the 7 principles in a reworked language to be 6 core values with love at the center. So love holds us together as we constantly work to align our actions and values. And the values include interdependence. We honor, protect, and heal the interdependent web of all existence. 2, pluralism. We celebrate and learn from diverse cultures, theologies, and experiences in our free, responsible search for truth and meaning. 3, justice. We work to dismantle racism and oppression, co-creating a socially just world that works for everyone. 4, transformation. We are open to experience and grow. 5, generosity. We practice gratitude and share our presence and resources. And 6, equity. We respect the inherent worthiness and dignity of every person and build inclusive communities. So that's the short version of this Article 2 that we'll be working with and talking about and reflecting on this coming year. And I want to remind us that it doesn't mean that the 7 principles are going away. It means that they won't be listed in the way that they're listed right now in our UUA bylaws, but it doesn't mean that we can't use them as a congregation in our own personal spiritual and faith practice in our RE program. It doesn't mean we have to take them off our wall. It's just that we're moving and shifting in a new direction, and we bring all that we have been, all of who we have been with us. And it's okay that it's hard to change and let that go. It can be hard, and we can do it at the same time. And that's the amazing thing about our faith. Another major item of business was a business resolution that was proposed by a group of young adult activists in our movement. So this resolution that was proposed was calling for complete divestment from the fossil fuel industry and subsequent reparations. And this one was really hard and really complicated. So what happened is this was proposed, and on the surface, I think to a lot of us, it sounds really good. I, at least, am completely in favor of divestment from the fossil fuel industry. As Unitarian Universalists, I think our values call us to the work of divesting, and I believe in reparations. The complicating factor here was that the way this business resolution was written, the way that they were calling us as a UUA, as an association of congregations, to do this, would have put our association and our congregations in a really challenging and unhealthy financial place. So I don't know, we'll have to ask Peter, our treasurer, or someone who knows more about the ins and outs of things like endowments and shared funds and the UUA Common Endowment. But my understanding is that were we to completely divest from fossil fuels and embrace reparations in the particular way that was being asked for, we would be in such a tough financial place that congregations would, because it would impact the UUA Common Endowment, which many congregations, probably ours included, have invested money. It would compromise our financial security as a congregation and the association and the larger association, which would compromise our ability to keep existing, to keep doing ministry, and to keep doing the environmental justice work that we're already doing as a UUA. So it was really complicated. There was a lot of disagreement in the room. There was a lot of pain in the room. It was a hard conversation to witness, to sit through, to be part of, because it was sort of this classic dynamic of a group of young, radical Unitarian Universalists really pushing for something that they absolutely believe in. And then a lot of other people saying, we agree with you, but we don't agree with the method. We don't agree with your process. We don't agree with the specifics. And that's really frustrating to hear. It was heartbreaking. It was a heartbreaking conversation. And ultimately, 68% of Unitarian Universalists who voted no against this resolution, and 14% voted yes. So this business resolution did not pass. And what that means is that we are not going to stop working toward divestment and working toward reparations. But it does mean that we're going to do so in relationship with our financial people at the UUA and in congregations. We're going to do so in a way that doesn't compromise the financial feasibility of our association of congregations. So it's complicated. It's really complicated. And if you're in UU circles outside of our congregation, you might hear some grumblings about this, or some people having big feelings and big thoughts about this. And I just urge you to listen with care and understand that this was a really complicated day and a really complicated vote, and that there are some people who are really hurting from this conversation. So to hold them with tenderness and care. I certainly am. And finally, we elected a new president of our Association of Congregations, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. She is an amazing human and scholar and minister and academic. Of Unitarian Universalists who voted, 95.5% of them, 95.5%, voted yes to elect Sophia to a 6-year term as UUA president. So she was installed as our new president on Sunday afternoon after closing worship. This is super exciting. Reverend Dr. Sophia she is theologically deep. She is deeply committed to justice and equity. She is really smart. She's an ethicist, and she has been part of Unitarian Universalism for many decades. And she has tons of experience. She is a wealth of institutional knowledge. I voted for Sophia, and I am super excited to see how she leads us forward as an association of congregations. And it'll be amazing to see. It's also exciting. She is a history-making individual. She is the first person of color. She's the first Black and openly queer UUA president, which is incredible. We all know that representation matters. And here we are, embarking on another journey. The Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, who has been our UUA president for the last 6 years, has done an amazing job. And I'm just so impressed with how she handled herself. And oh my goodness, this world, this pandemic, she did an amazing job. And I'm so grateful for the work she has accomplished. And we'll be praying for her as she, moves on to something new. And who knows what that will be. So the last thing I wanted to share with you is one of the worship services was led by the minister of Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church in Tennessee. And he was talking a bit about how the work of change and transformation and culture change in congregations can be really slow and really frustrating, and how some people feel like it's too fast, and some people are so frustrated at how long it can take. He had us cheering, "Go Turtles, go! Go Turtles, go!" Because we can be a bit of a turtle at times, as the UUA, as congregations, as individuals. And it was this sweet reminder, "Go Turtles, go," of that just because we're moved slowly sometimes doesn't mean we're not moving. It doesn't mean that the work we're doing doesn't matter. And so anyway, go Turtles, go. I just thought that was extremely dear and wanted to share it with you. So that is my update about General Assembly 2023. Next year's GA will be all virtual. So if you're interested in being part of all the stuff I'm talking about, there will be every year keeps coming. There'll be an opportunity next year to participate virtually. And hopefully maybe you'll be interested to be a delegate. There will also be opportunities to get involved in the Article 2 revision process. I'll be sharing those throughout this upcoming year, and I hope if you have big feelings about it, that you will get involved, because your voice matters. All of our voices matter. I miss you all. I've been away from you for just a week now, and I have now that I've settled back in at home from GA and I'm COVID negative, I've been testing regularly. People were really good about masking, and it felt like a safe and healthy space. Now that I'm on the other side, it is time for me to shut down my minister brain and take some vacation. So for the next 4 weeks, I will be on vacation. I'll be home and visiting my mom in Colorado for a little bit of time in mid-July. And I'll be back to work on July 31st, just for a week. And then I'll head out again for 2 weeks of study leave where I'll be planning for the upcoming year. I'll be coming up with worship calendars and ideas and going through all the books I've been reading, and it'll be really a fruitful time. So I am so both looking forward to time away and also looking forward to coming back. I am full of ideas and excitement about our shared work and ministry together in the year to come. So, friends, I hope you take some good rest as well. Enjoy our lay-led summer services, and I so look forward to being with you in July and late July, and then again in August. Take care, friends.